Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of the tutorial of this book called The Medicine Lady using Midnight Potions paper from Country Craft Creations. I've broken this down into 3 or 4, I'm not sure how long it's going to take, parts of the tutorial, and this is part 2. You can find the walkthrough and part 1 listed in the description box. Alright, for this segment we're going to do the front of page 2, which is a flap that has a pocket in the front. On my other book, the flap goes all the way to the end of this pocket, which is inside, and it is a side-loading pocket with a rather large mat. So that's what we're going to work on right now. Alright, here are the measurements for the front of page 2. You will need a piece for the tag that is 7.5 by 5, another tag that is 7.5 by 7.5, piece of cardstock that is 6 by 8 1/4. You'll see in a bit that I probably should have made this piece 6.5. Watch through and see which one you prefer. And a pocket for that is 7 by 2 1/2. And then another piece that is 6.5 by 9 1/4. So we're going to start with the 6.5 by 9 1/4, put the short side up at the top, and score down at 1/2 inch. I'm turning it upside down just so the writing is right side up. I'm sorry, I'm going to take this and put the long side at the top, then the short side at the top, and then the long side again. Yeah, this is going to be the inside side-loading pocket on the front of the page. Then let's grab the little pocket piece, and yes, we'll start with the long side at the top. Score on the short side, then the long side, and then the short side again, all at 1/2 inch. And then we'll grab that piece that is 6 by 8 1/4. I haven't realized yet that it should be 6.5, but score just on the long side. Okay, then we'll go ahead and do the thing, the miter the corners, so I will go ahead and fast forward. Alright, we're going to start with the 6 by 8 1/4 inch flap and just add it on to the right side of the page. Go ahead and grab my glue and add it on. I was looking just to make sure I had the right piece. So again, be generous with the glue, but you don't want it to be gloppy. This is probably more than I normally use. Okay, we'll just put it at the right side and make sure when you put it on that the top and bottom of the page are lined up nicely with the top and bottom of the base page. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead and add the inside piece. So that is the 6.5 by 9 1/4. I'll put the glue on the side piece first. Alright, so I am gluing just the right hand side down, and then I'm going to go and grab a piece of Scotch tape or adhesive tape and put it on that little flap that I just glued down, just so if I don't put paper that goes the full length of it, it won't get hung up there. And then I'll go ahead and glue down the flaps on the sides to make the pocket. Easy schmeezy. Okay, and then when I fold over the flap, I think that's when I realized, oh no, it's shorter. Was it supposed to be shorter? But you know what, I just go with it. And like I said, if you want, you can add the extra 1/2 inch. But now, because I made that smaller than it was supposed to, my little pocket is not going to fit perfectly. So, live and learn. I'm just going to grab my scoreboard and score a little bit more on the pocket and fold it in, and that way it's going to fit. I'll have to remiter the corner and cut off that little tab. You know, if it bothered me too much, I would have taken that piece off and recut it, but it's not going to bother me. I don't have any specifics that the tag that goes in the pocket will still fit in there. So if the tag was too big for the pocket, maybe I would have changed it. So again, here I add the tape and then glue the two sides. All right, I'll go ahead and burnish that real well. Whoops. And then let's look into, we'll put the tags in the pocket. See, that fits fine. So I'm good with that. I'll leave it. All right, let's start decorating. Let's look and see what we can do for here. So I've decided to put just a piece, about a 2-inch piece, 2x8, into that very far left-hand side. I'm going to have the purple showing, so I'm gluing this beautiful skull on the back. I don't know, can skulls be beautiful? So I'll put it in, and because the paper's 8 1/4, that 8-inch piece fits perfectly. And then I will add this piece onto the front of the pocket. And you could still paper piece if you wanted to on here, on the front of this pocket, but I don't mind just doing it this way. And I've already cut the pieces to fit on the flap, so this piece is about 1 inch by 7. This piece is about 1 by 4.5. And then that piece is 4.5 by 6.5. So you could put a 4x6 photo and still have a border around it. And that little piece on the bottom, I can't tell you the exact measurement. It's probably about 3/4 by 5 3/4, but you need to cut that so it will fit. And if I didn't mention it, I'll tell you now. When I've cut my pattern pieces to go on top, I do add just a little bit of ATGs just to hold it, not to keep it permanent, but just sort of to save the place, and that way I know where the already cut pieces are going to go. On that one, we'll put that at the top. Probably could have trimmed it down a little. Wish I had gotten some purple glitter paper, and even if it was a light color purple, I still could have inked it with black and made it dark on the edges, but too late. I don't think I have any purple in my stash, but this is the last page I'm doing like that. All right, so that part is done. Now for this photo, this tag or photo mat, I wrote tag, but it really is a photo mat. I am putting this in that top corner. I wasn't sure if I wanted purple or the tan, it's going to be tan because I already put glue on it. And this one too. And then later on I'll go back and see if I can find any other elements to add to this, like something in the corner here. I'm not sure exactly what. On the back of this I already put just plain purple. So that is done. I'll put that in that pocket. Now this one is a little more complicated. I didn't ink these edges, so I wanted to do that before I put it down. It actually looks a little bit too long and it's cut wonky. And I'm probably going to cut it wonky again. That's not terrible. This is too big. I didn't take off much, but oops. And I need to ink here. Sometimes I will cut my photo mats a 1/2 inch bigger, sometimes a 1/4 inch bigger. Just depends. Probably for that this bigger one, I could have done a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch bigger. But I had already had these photo mats cut. So I just went with it. There we go. That's interesting. I like it with the black. Now this side has 2 3.5 by 4.5 photo mats. So again, if you have an Instax camera, or you could actually, if you had 4x6 photos, you could print 2 4x3 photos on one 4x6 photo page. I use an app called Pic Collage, and that will help you. You just tell it you have 2 photos and you want it on a 4x6 page, and it'll figure it out for you. Or you could move it around. But that way you can print out small photos. Sometimes I print like 1-inch photos, get a whole bunch of them to put in my traveler's notebook travel journal. All right, I'm going to glue these down, and that is it. So this goes here. And that goes there. Now I have chalk writing from my notes, which I will try to erase. There we go. And this will go on the bottom. And this will go on the top. You know I love those skulls. I mean, they're eerie, but they're not like in your face. All right, and so this will go in here. And so when you open up this page, you're going to have this and that, and you'll get a lot of real estate in there. All right, that is it for the front of page 2. Now we're going to go move to the back of page 2. Okay, I'm going to show you 2B and 3F. This is 2B, so it's just a flap that opens to the side, and then there you can see the photo mats on top. I mean, it's a simple flap that opens that you would adhere right on top of the decorative page. And then on 3F, the flap will open to the side, and then it will open up. And both of those have photo mats. And of course, there is a little booklet that is just made by gluing the photo mat. I'm going to show you the same using the other paper pad, and then we'll do the instructions. All right, first I'm going to show you the pages we're going to do, and then we're going to do them. I've got my pages put in the book, and what we're going to do is just make a simple flap for photos. So you can put a photo here, one there, and one there. It gives you ample space for decorating, besides adding anything to the corners. And then in the corresponding one, this opens this way, and then that closes, and that opens that way. So you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photos on this page, plus we just glue this on 3 sides so you can put in a photo mat. You could actually do the same here, glue it down lower, and then have a tuck spot at the top. So a couple of different variations on that. So to do this, all you need for 2B is a piece of cardstock 7 by 5 and a piece 7.5 by 5. The 7.5 by 5, we're going to put the long side at the top and simply score at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to do for 3F at the same time. So for 3F, we're going to take the so for 3F you'll need 7 by 5.5, 7.5 by 5, 7 by 5. There are 3 different sizes: 7 by 5.5, 7.5 by 5, 7 by 5. I know, it's crazy. The 7 by 5.5, put the 5.5 inch side at the top and score down the 7 inch side. I'm just looking at it just to make sure. The 7.5 by 5, put the 7 inch side at the top and score down the 5 side. And that's all we'll need to do for that. So let us start with 3F. Oh my goodness, this is so simple. All we're going to do is take this, and I'm not even going to miter the corners. I'm just going to burnish and grab my glue and put it right on top of that piece we already have. And I'm not going to add it to the book, because for this one, what you need to do, or add it to the page, you need to put the decorative paper down first and then add this. So what I do in cases like that is I grab my ATG, or you could use some temporary adhesive, and I'm just going to put it on the page just so I remember once I get the decorative paper on, go ahead and put it on. And the same thing for 3F. So 3F, we're going to fold and burnish on the score lines. This will be on top. And that'll go on there. All right, so 7 and 5.5, that's got the score line. In this case, I'm going to put my glue on the inside. Usually I put it on the outside tab. I'm going to put it on the inside. Take my 7.5 by 5, which has the fold at the top, and just place it in like this. And I'll burnish to keep that down. And then I'm going to turn that upside down. And I'm going to put glue again on the inside. I usually seem to be putting it on the outside, so this is a little unusual. I'll take this 7 by 5 inch piece, put it right down. I mean, everything's upside down here, but that's okay. And push that down and fold and burnish. And I'll do the same for this. I will just lightly tack it down. Whoops, there's glue. Just so when I decorate, then I will remember to do that. So now let me cut the pages to decorate. Okay, now we're going to decorate the book. But I want to show you what I did with this one. So again, I call this color blocking. I'm sure there's another word for it, but that's what I've always called it. So I have about 2 inches of one paper and then a slight gap, and then the rest is with a different pattern paper. And here I have about 1 inch, and then the rest is pattern paper. And inside I used white cardstock for the spot you're going to put your photos. Of course, in the Halloween book, we're going to use purple. But I did leave this open so you could stick photos underneath there. And I color blocked with the pattern paper. This one, same thing. I used some gold with color blocking just because it was a nice accent to go with this. So again, 2 different papers on that page. And 2 different papers on both those pages. And then this one, I replicated that little gold piece, and there's about 1.5 inches, and then the rest is with pattern paper. I just used pattern paper on the back of there. And then the other detail I wanted to show, oh, and this just has the paper. I didn't block it. I just had the paper cut because I knew I was going to have this going on, so I didn't want to have too much. And then the other detail was I have a little piece of ribbon here, just so people know that it opens. Now I should have put one down here, and we're going to do that in our Halloween book. So I used, and if I didn't tell you before, I'm telling you now, I have the 8 by 8 and the 12 by 12 of this collection. And I'm loving the fact that the book the pages are 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, so I can just put an 8 by 8 page down here. Now I will lose this image with what I'm doing, but I still get these fabulous corners. And I don't know if you noticed, but this, you don't really even have to ink very much because the outer perimeter is already inked. I mean, isn't that fabulous? But I am using both sides. All right, so this will go down. But I love this because now this is 5 by 7, and since our photo mats are 5 by 7, I cut it down a little, so it's about 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. You still can use it to put a photo on top if you want to, but you don't have to. This one I cut 5 by 7 and then cut it down to about 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I just have this portion of it. Now, if you wanted to, because the page on the left is landscape, the page on the right is portrait, so I just cut right about there. So I could have it, I could have cut this out, but I sort of liked it. I mean, I like the tools and things. So I just cut 5 by 7. So, and then this part, which was left over, I used for the, I made a little booklet, and I'll show you that. But then, so that means I had this piece left over, and this is what I used to cut down to fill in for color blocking, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, well, let's just do the cover of this little flap first. Again, it was pretty heavily inked, but because this was cut out of the page, I just want to ink a little bit on the bottom. And I already put magnets on my little flaps because I showed you once how to do it, and I don't want to bore you showing you how to do magnets every single time I need to do a magnet. So again, here's that skeleton that I cut down to about 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Like I said, I like the tools. I thought they were cool. And then, of course, my photo mats are purple, and I already inked them. So I just want to show you and tell you how I treat this with color blocking. So first of all, I'm just using the one pattern paper. I am not using 2 different ones, which is okay. I mean, I could have used some of the purple that was from the other pages, but I just decided just to use this. And I took advantage of, I think this needs to be cut down a little bit. I took advantage of the border and that the lady, the fortune teller, and left that purple there just so we still had a little bit of color. All right, I just wanted to cut a little bit off. Now I did ink around the edges of these pieces. These pieces are about 3/8 of an inch thick, wide, I guess. And then the length of them, it depends. If you're going to have it going the same length as your photo mat, then it's going to be 6 1/4, because my photo mats, if I didn't tell you, are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. If it's going to go the height of the page, it's going to be about 4 1/2, but you have to measure yourself because it depends on how much of spacing you have between the, oops, I put that on the wrong way, between the purple photo mat and the edge of the page. And why did I say I put that on the wrong one? Because I had the darker edge I wanted in the corner. I don't know, just me. All right, and I always seem to put down the photo mat first and try to get it as straight as possible, and then try to measure everything up with the borders for the rest of it. So that's pretty straight. And then again, I used my ATG gun. You could use just a temporary adhesive. I mean, they make temporary glue sticks. I don't know that I would use a glue stick, but just some kind of temporary adhesive. And I'm going to turn this way because I've got the pattern down here, and I want the patterns to meet in the corner. just because why not? So you have to measure this with the bottom of your mat and the side of your other little strip. So that's okay. All right, and then, like I said, I'm just going to take this page, make sure you've got the correct orientation, and that's the other reason why I put the name or label it with the number of the page, so I know that my orientation is correct, because it would stink if you went and glued something on and then found out your orientation is wrong and you have to pull it up. And once you glue down these papers onto artisan cardstock, you've got a little bit of time, but not a heck of a lot. All right, and I'm making sure my border around the edge is even. And so I told you before that on the other one I had it sideways so I could have a pocket. And you can do that if you want to. I am not doing it here. The reason is because I like where it says druggist and apothecary, and I like that detail on it. If you don't, glue it on here on the two sides and the bottom, and then use that as a pocket. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to worry about a pocket on this particular page. Yes, I do lose a little bit of space, but I get it back in my design element. So that's what I'm going to do with that. If you're using a different paper, then you might want to do that. So I'm just going to center that on here, make sure it's up above druggist and apothecary. And we're good. Okay, so there is that. Let's do the other page. Well, I have an extra one. I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure there was a reason. Maybe because I was showing you. Okay, 3F. If you want, you can ink more around the edges. I am quite happy with the inking that's already done for me. And there we go. I mean, that by itself is fabulous, isn't it? I mean, look at the inking around the edges. Okay, let me move this aside. Stop gawking at it. I'll move this aside, and I'll show you what that is in a little bit. Okay, I did actually ink a little bit heavier. Again, this was an interior piece. It was here. And although it's inked around there, I just felt like it needed some more there. And too, I cut it down a little more than what it was supposed to be. I mean, if you just cut this based on the edges of the picture, it would be 5 by 7. But since this is 5 by 7, I needed, whoops, and I didn't do it on the other one, darn it. You know what I needed to do? Oops. I needed to put my little piece of ribbon, and now I'm doing that backwards. All right. So I'm just going to take it and fold it and have a little bit of a tab sticking out. Probably about 1/4 of an inch. And that just will signify where the page opens. So I'll take this and line it up against the top and the right hand side. And then I will glue the rest of these pieces down. So I'll do this in fast motion and we will get this done, and then I'll show you what else we're going to do on this page. Okay, now we'll go ahead and put this down, and again I'm going to glue it top, side, and bottom. Oops, and I have this ATG, which I better take off or else I won't be able to attach anything. Not attach. I won't be able to use it as a pocket because it will attach. Okay, so I will I'm going to go about 1/2 inch from the side, which will be, and 1/2 inch from the top and bottom. And I'm going to lay that and put my book and let it dry. Okay, I have a piece of cardstock 5 1/4 by 10 1/2. I'm going to score this at 5 1/2. No, I meant 5 1/4. Is that right? Yes, 5 1/4. I'm turning this upside down because I made a boo-boo, so I'm just going to gently erase it. I mean, we're going to put something on here, so you won't notice it. I mean, you see a slight line, but it's not like the score. Isn't that great? All right, we're going to put the Appleton's Medical Dictionary on the top. And again, I did ink around these edges. Okay, and then on the inside, that was 5 by 5, and I have 5 by 5 pieces of grapevine. I must have grape wine on my mind. We are not too far from vineyards in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. There's that. And as you can see, I inked around the edges of that cardstock, the purple. So you can put photos there. Now, I do need something on the back, but I don't want to cut into a page yet until I see what scraps I have left. So before I finish this book entirely, I'm just going to, I'll add something to the page later. But so what we have, that fits in there. We have this page and that page, which will correspond. And I like the angles of everything. I like the designs of everything. I think it all flows nicely together. Again, you could put a photo on top of here. So if you do, then you have room for 3 photos on this page and room for 5. So you have 8 plus smaller photos and or journaling opportunity there. So this will open like that. And this opens first. No, first it goes out, and I can tell because there's a little tab. So first like that, and then you close it, and then it goes like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, we're done with that. Let's move on to the next page. Okay, so 3B is a large flap, and you can see I have color blocking with a stripe and more paper. And that opens to that. And then it's got 2 flaps that are photo size, one opening to the right and one to the left. And then there's a photo mat inside, and I only glued it on 3 sides, so there's a pocket. So, and the color blocking that I did on this one is one larger piece of paper, this black and white plaid, I don't know what it is. And then the one pattern, and then another one, a small piece in the corner. The photo mats, I just simply put paper on it. I didn't color block that. I did color block that, and we already saw that. So that is 3B. This is what it looks like using the Midnight Potions collection. So there's the flap. There's a little bit of ribbon there on the bottom. On the inside of the flap, you see I have a photo mat there with just centered. I have a little cut apart there on the bottom, and then a couple of tags. And then there's the one flap, there's the other, and then there's the center photo mat. I do not have, I did not make that into a pocket in this book. All right, let's get going. And let me let you know what paper you need for that. Okay, so for this you'll need 2 pieces, 4.5 by 7, and 1 piece 8.5 by 7. We're going to put the 8.5 side at the top. Is that right? That is absolutely right. You know, sometimes I second guess. 8.5 side at the top, score down the 7 inside. And for these pieces, we're going to score 1/2 inch on both. With the long side at the top, you're going to score at the short side. Alrighty. Move that out of the way. We'll grab 3B and my scissors. I'm going to miter the corners here. I don't think I did on the last one. And this one I can't wait. I'm going to use the paper that's got that house on it, which is going to be really hard for me to cover up. I'm going to have to figure out a way to make that the star of the show. That's one of the reasons I had the this flap on the front just so it will give me a little more room to have a little fun. Now, of course, on that one, I did do the color blocking, but this one I'm not going to. All right, so we're simply going to take the 8.5 by 7 inch piece, add glue to the outside of the tab, and that's going to be centered on the top. So I'm just going to eyeball it about 1/2 inch on each side. And then the other ones, we are going to I'm going to go down about 1 inch on the left hand side and put one on the left hand side, and the other one I'm going to go up about 1 inch on the right hand side. See if I can put this on without getting glue all over the place. And make sure when you're putting it on, you're parallel with the bottom. Okay. Probably should have gone up a little bit more so I could put a magnet on the bottom. I still have room. I mean, just a little bit of it's gonna show. Or can I take this up? Nope, I still have room, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. All right, I've cut everything out, and now I'm going to attach it. So I cut out a 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 inch photo mat for the top here. Let me add a little glue to get the little ribbon piece. I wasn't going to put ribbon here because I didn't want it interfering with the magnet, but I decided just go ahead and do it. I inked around the edges with, well, first I tried black, and then I decided no, because this purpley color sort of has a gray tone in it. So then I added a little bit of hickory smoke, Distress Oxide, and I sort of like it. All right, I'm making sure this is straight on here. So I put this off, the mat off to one side, and I decided I could not live with it that way. So I centered the mat, and I'm going to put strips of scraps of the pattern paper on both sides of it. I also inked these strips of pattern paper with my purple Wilted Violet, not Wicked, I'm on a Halloweeny mood, but Villainous Potion would probably be much more fabulous, but it's what I had. And then I just have a little strip here on the bottom. Okay, that's okay. I feel like I'm going to put something in a corner there. All right, and then I just have the pattern paper, the back of it, with this purpley side here. So you would be able to put a 4x6 photo there. And same with here. And then I have a dilemma. So this is going to be the front. Again, I inked around with some hickory smoke and some Wilted Violet. I might as well go ahead and put that in. This was from the 8x8 pattern paper, and I first cut it down at the side so it would fit. So I cut maybe about 3/4 of an inch. You'll have to measure and see for yourself exactly how it's going to be. So I first cut it this way, and then I cut a little bit off of the top. So I like that as a front, don't you? Of the front of this. You can edge this differently if you wanted to. I didn't do a corner punch. Usually would round a flap that goes up and down, but I didn't want to do anything with these pretty elements here. In retrospect, you probably could have, because you would have seen a little more of these. I was also going to do a stub and a scallop, but I ended up just leaving them. Okay, so now, whoops. I'm going to put this here because we're going to cover a lot of it up, and I like the color. But the question is, I love the verbiage that was on here, and then this little bit of the house peeking through. But of course, I'm just not sure which way to go with that. I know I'm going to glue this down, so I'll go ahead and do that. But do I leave those flaps in this purple, or do I leave them with a bit of the haunted house showing through? And if I had some kind of spider webs to put on the corner of this, I would do that. I still might be able to find something. I'm not sure. I looked in my stash. I didn't have anything. So what? Do we like it that way? Or that needs to get out of the way. This too. So you're going to put your photos on here. Well, and you know what? Because of that, I think I'm going to... I know that's part of a skull. I'll put that over here. You know what? Executive decision. Because we're going to cover it with photos, I'm just going to put the purple. Okay, so I am going to put these on. I am going to use this, the purple side up. We also have the houses a couple of times on here, so we don't need to replicate it too many times. But you can do what you want for your book. Alright, and then final touch, I cut a couple of tags. So this was from the 8x8 paper. I cut the smaller version just because I didn't want too many big houses, and I'm simply going to add some glue on the bottom and just if you get it right away, you're good. On the bottom and a little bit up on one side. Put it there, and then I cut, this was from the 8x8, just one of the tags there, and I put a piece of dark gray. And this I just cut from a scrap of paper, and I got this fabulous fun fur from my friend Jackie of the YouTube channel Jack Scraps. She heard me saying, does anyone know where to get fun fur? And she sent me so many pretty colors. I need to do a whole video with something else, but I won't do that right now. But isn't that pretty? It's called Orchid. So I won't stick this in too much because the glue is still drying, but those two will go in like that. And then we've got this, and then that, and then there is the page. How do you like it? Let me move this in a little closer. There. I like how it all comes together, and there's still room for photos. You could put a photo on there, photo there, there, and there, and actually going to add one more thing to here. And that's it for this video. We're more than halfway through. Next, we're going to work on the front of page 4, and we'll do that in the next video. So once that is done, I will put a link in the description box. And thanks so much. Don't forget to hit the like button. It really does help me out. All right, I'll see you in the next video.